I'm on here. I'm okay.
You're on.
Yeah. Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. We have a quorum, so we'll call the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority Trust meeting to order. Under our first items from the chairman, we have some subcommittee reports. Under item A, we have 3, and I'd like to call on Kathy to give us a report on those 3 items. Kathy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Land and Water Use Committee met just before the trust meeting, and we had these 3 items that we reviewed and discussed. And the first item is the amendment to the lease between the City of Oklahoma City and the River Trust. And basically what this agreement does is it provides a broader boundary to the 2005 and the 2008 amendments. And it also provides legal descriptions to match up with what we currently own. So that's this first agreement. The second item is the recommendation for the landscaping and maintenance. And this basically provides for the Boathouse Foundation to improve and maintain the property surrounding the boathouses. As consideration for the agreement, they would be eligible for a maximum of $100,000 in applicable fees each year, and that's for maintaining and improving the footprint there at the river. And so we discussed that one. And then the third item that we discussed was the revocable rowing permit. And basically what this does is it's a permit for the Boathouse Foundation to use the river Monday through Friday as a practice site for the rowing and paddle boats. And as a committee, we recommend approval of all 3 items, and that will come before the trust shortly.
Now, those items will be up for trust approval, item H, I, and J, at the end of our docket today. All right, thank you, Kathy. Any questions of her at this point? Okay, moving on to item B, which is an update on MAPS 3, Oklahoma Riverfront Subcommittee activities. Brian, do you have an update there?
At the last meeting, we had information about the land acquisition, mostly for the big new, what's the official name for it? Whitewater course. I'm sorry, I was thinking, which way is that? And it was what, what's going to need to be in condemnation and what the outcomes from that is. We did not have a meeting this month, so we're waiting on that. The projects that we were involved in underneath the river and all, I think they were all going along well. We had updates on those before it'd be refilled, so it's just progressing.
Very good. Any questions of Brian? Very good. We'll move on to item item 3, which is the minutes of January the 28th. And you may recall we did not have a February meeting. That's why we're back to the January 28th meeting. Are there any corrections or comments about those minutes?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item passes. Thank you. Item 4 is our consent docket. We have 2 items there, our sand mining and oil and gas reports and river corridor events. Are there any questions specifically about that? Been moved and seconded. Any question? If not, please record your vote. Item is approved. Moving to the primary agenda items, item 1 is to receive Oklahoma River Maintenance Projects update.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Paul Bronson with the Public Works Department. Item number 1 on your Oklahoma River Maintenance Projects update is our hydraulic cylinder purchase project. As you will see, all of our cylinders that we contracted for have been received. The large Crestgate cylinders that will be replaced on the Brum and May Avenue dams are on site at the vendor's location over at Southeast 18th and I-35. We are coordinating their installation, which we hope will take place the week of April 7th. There's quite a bit of coordination work that has to go in advance of the actual installation. The contractor will be out there actually pulling some of the big pins in preparation of the removal and the installation, hopefully early next week. Also, we have to coordinate with the crane company. We have a crane company on contract with the city that we have to coordinate with them in order to get the crane on site and build a pad to be able to lift the cylinders off and put the new cylinders on. So everything is on schedule, hopefully for the week of April 7th. And as I stated previously in other reports, it's our intent to take the old cylinders off, put those back on the flatbed truck, and take them right back to the vendor for rehabilitation. And when those are done, we'll go through the same process again. So, item number 2 is Canal Zone G. As your report indicates, that project is scheduled for final acceptance on April the 1st with the City Council. With regard to the ongoing saga of our agreement with the UP Railroad, I spoke with Mr. Wingard prior to coming over here, and all sides are optimistic still that we will be able to get a permanent agreement. In light of getting the permanent agreement approved, both sides are agreeable to executing additional temporary revocable permits until we actually get the final agreement approved to allow any scheduled events to take place, much as they did last fall with the Regatta Festival. And that's where we're at right now. I spoke with Craig Keith in the Municipal Counselor's office, who's actually working with the UP, and he had contact with them as early as yesterday morning. So they are, obviously it's somewhat of an arduous process, a little give and take on both sides, but both sides are confident that we are going to get there. So that's the best I can give you at this point.
Paul, is that both for pedestrian access and boat access?
I believe it is, yes. Yeah. It's, from what Eric indicated to me, that it would be for the same ingress and egress that was allowed during the Regatta Festival last fall.
Okay, it seems to me last fall we had to have guards. We had to have
Yes, there were
flag people and...
flag men in place and the whole deal, so
Will we have to do
I
that?
anticipate that will probably be the same case, you know, again, until we get a permanent agreement in place.
Okey-doke.
Item number 3.
Excuse me, I might add that I think finally, and for the last several weeks, we do have the right people, talking to the right people. And so I think, as Paul said, we're very hopeful that this is going to come to a close very soon. Right.
Kind of a right-hand, left-hand thing with the Union Pacific.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Can
think
I
right
ask
now,
a dumb question? Can a pedestrian walk from Bricktown down to Canal Zone G along the total area of the canal today?
You're physically able to, but the UP is not allowing pedestrian traffic under
Okay.
the bridge.
And once an agreement is made, okay, will there be a need for somebody with a flag to do that?
Now, once the permanent agreement is in place, there won't be any restrictions on it.
Then isn't there any way, I'm setting you up, isn't there any way to get a temporary permit to allow pedestrians to walk along there? Isn't the hang-up about the boats going under?
it's my understanding right now, Councilman, that we are at somewhat of a minor impasse with regards to the insurance that the railroad wants the city to purchase to allow both the boats and the pedestrians underneath the railroad bridge.
So it's an insurance issue, it's not a physical...
No, the infrastructure is, you know, as I said, I mean, this project is getting ready to be final accepted on April the 1st. All the improvements are done. You and I could walk down there, you could walk on one side, I could walk on the other right now. We're just not supposed to do that.
And so we couldn't do that while the Big 12 women's tournament or the wrestling tournament were going on. And
If you did-
we're losing a tremendous, I think, PR opportunity here to showcase the river and to showcase the canal.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, I'm preaching to the choir. I'll shut up.
Moving right along, item number 3 is the Meridian Landing project. That project is complete, and the final acceptance will be done sometime next month. They are holding off on installing some of the final landscape items until we're past the threat of the final frost for the year. So those improvements will be installed, hopefully very soon. So, item number 4 is our dredging contract in the sedimentation basin. We are about 87% complete with that operation right now. Our contractor, who is CP Integrated Services, has indicated their desire to renew the contract for an additional term, and we will begin those negotiations with them next month. So, item number 5, I believe, is a new item on your report. I'm
I
sorry.
do have a question.
Yeah.
The 87%, when will it be 100% complete?
Sam, what do we think?
They just recently were now up to 92. They just did another survey.
Okay.
Excavated files, so probably looking at the end of the middle of next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 is a new item on your report this month. We're experiencing some settlement at the May Avenue Control House, the control house that holds the hydraulic power unit and all that, all the controls for the May Avenue Dam. That facility was completed about 11 years ago, and over time, what would be the southwest corner of the building has started to settle. We became aware of that last year, and we've hired a structural engineer to prepare plans to eventually let a contract to raise that building up and stabilize it from future settlement. As most of you are aware, there's a series of landfills there on both sides of the river, and we think we probably should have put in some more select fill at that location, which may have prevented some of the settlement, but as is the case right now, we've got some settlement going on one of the corners of the building, and it's imperative that we get that taken care of because there's numerous hydraulic lines that go out from the hydraulic unit under the building and out to the dam structure itself, and we don't want to compromise those at all. So it's going to be quite a sensitive project, and that's why we enlisted our structural engineer, who's on contract with the city, to prepare the plans, and we anticipate actually putting that out for bid in May of this year. We've been keeping an eye on it, and we haven't experienced any additional settlement in the last couple months, over what we experienced 8-10 months ago, so things seem to have stabilized, but just the same, we've got to get that contract awarded and get that building stabilized because, as we all know, it's very critical to the operation of the dam and the lock there. So that's a new project that we're undertaking right now. And item number 6 is some repairs that we had to make as a result of the flooding event of May 31st at the Eastern Avenue Dam, and we've got a real brief PowerPoint to show you some of the destruction that was caused by the high water event. You can see this is on the north side of the dam here, and you can see where the bank is eroded, accusing a void, and then the wall there was undermined, very significantly. Here's a different picture. These concrete blocks here in the lower left corner are energy dissipators that dissipate the water after it comes over the dam. There was a wall there once where you see the water kind of flowing back to the right. There was a wall there that washed away as a result of the May 31st event, and here you can see the contractor in there building forms to restore that wall. And here's cement pumping unit that was actually up on top of Eastern Avenue that was pumping the concrete and the flowable fill. And here's the lower end of the, of the hose actually pumping the flow in there into the newly formed up area. And also, this was on the south end of the wall. We had a wing wall. We had a cold joint that was compromised, and the repair of that joint was also part of the contract with Downey Contracting, and that was completed. All the work was finally completed, I believe, late the week before last, and we'll be getting ready to final accept this. Some of this work will be reimbursed by FEMA because it was caused by the disaster. So, with that, I'll entertain any questions, and if not, I'll request that the report be accepted as submitted.
Anyone have questions of Paul? Appreciate your report, Paul.
Thank you.
Motion to receive his report. Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Thank you. Move to item 5B, which is to receive the unaudited financial statements for the period ending December 31/13. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Any questions? If not, please record your vote. Thank you. Item C is to receive a letter to management on information related to the Riverfront Authority's annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 13. Any questions, comments? Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item D is to receive a report on quarterly meeting of the Oklahoma City River Stakeholders Group. Pat, do you have a report for us there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, trustees. We did have a very good crowd at the latest Riverfront Stakeholders Group. We were hosted by Mike Cressman, who's general manager of the Holiday Inn Riverfront out off of Meridian and 15th. It was, I think, as good a sized crowd as we've had in a while. The focus of that meeting, the main presentation, had to do with the Aero Meridian Hospitality Corridor and how its intersection and interface with the river corridor and the various trails and systems that are interrelated and intertwined are working. They also provided an update of the Business Improvement District efforts that had been underway in that area, had indicated some slowdown of that process, but remained hopeful that with some additional work that could be completed successfully. The list of people requesting to be on that stakeholder distribution list is growing monthly, and certainly the general public, anyone with an interest in the river corridor, whether it's a direct or indirect or just a casual interest, are always welcome to participate in those sessions. If there are any further questions, be happy to address them. Otherwise, would request that the report be received as submitted.
Any questions of Pat? Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Thank you, Pat.
And I thought that meeting went very well. Well attended and great information. I really appreciated it.
Thank you. These meetings become more and more significant as more and more stakeholders attend. So, but certainly we always post them with a public notice that there may be a quorum indirectly or in kind of unwittingly of the both City Council and this board. So certainly any and all of you are also welcome to attend as you're available to do so.
And Pat, I would say, with regard to that and following Kathy's conversation, I hope we don't let the bid conversation die. I felt a little frustrated, and I just think it's something that, Larry, you've worked on a lot, and I think is really important out there.
There has been some turnover of management in among the hoteliers in the area, and so I think maybe with some renewed effort, and Councilman McAtee and I have been in touch on that, I think there is some hope to renew it, but it's not a slam dunk as we once probably had hoped it would be. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item E, which is change order number 3 for Bricktown Canal Connection Transition Improvements, which is Zone G of the canal north to the southern terminus of Bricktown Canal. This is an increase of $329,759. Okay. Been moved and seconded. Any questions? If not, please record your vote. Item is approved. Thank you. Item F is adopt a resolution accepting the annual inventory of Oklahoma River rowing and canoe kayaking race course as submitted by the Oklahoma City Boathouse. Any questions? If not, is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item G is approved consultant services contract between the Riverfront Authority and Pat Downs, DBA Strategic Solutions, LLC. I don't know, are there any motions to pull this from the docket? Yeah. Been moved and seconded. If there are no questions, please record your vote. It does approve. Moving on to, you're welcome. Moving on to item H. H, I, and J are the three subcommittee reports that we talked about at the first of the meeting, which were approved, and now they come before the trust for their approval. The first one being H is the lease agreement between the city and the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. If there are no questions, please record your vote. The item is approved. Item A is the landscape maintenance thing with the boathouse, which again was presented at the earlier part of the meeting. Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. And the third one, J, is the paddle boat practice permit, again presented earlier. Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved.
Mr. Chairman, let me make a comment about all three of those items, if I can. I'd just like to recognize the work and effort that several of the offices here in the city have gone to over the last probably at least 3 years. The Municipal Counselor's Office, the Parks Department, Public Works Department, our Development Director, and the cooperation with Mike Knopp and the Boathouse Foundation. There's been countless hundreds of hours spent over those several years on finally coming to some fruition on these three items, and we're glad that it's all done. I just wanted to recognize the effort that those city staff people and our consultant and the Boathouse Foundation have gone to.
I'll second that. Very nice. Thank you, everyone. Item 6, claims. Any comments on claims? Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Moving to additional items. Comments by the staff. Our development report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and trustees. Just a couple of things to highlight out of the monthly report from the development director. One is I want to highlight and acknowledge the extraordinary effort and cooperation of Public Works, Parks, the Boathouse Foundation, and various others in completing the work necessary to install the MAPS 3 improvements related to the competitive venue, the regatta venue along the eastern basin. We drained the facility right after the 1st of December. The draining was actually delayed by a week to accommodate a major international meeting of rowing authorities literally from around the world, and we appreciate that cooperation, and also the work being wrapped up in time for the very important spring rowing and paddling season. So I wanted to acknowledge that. I want to call to your attention, if you have not recently checked your email, we received a formal invitation to the UCO Boathouse groundbreaking, which is actually this Thursday, and the invitation has been sent out. They apparently lost their list, so we have sent it out by email to each of you and to other major stakeholders in the Riverfront effort. If you have any questions, call us. Otherwise, there's an RSVP number. The RSVP deadline was actually, I think, yesterday or today, but the university acknowledged that they were not particularly timely in getting that out, so they're not worried about RSVPs. If you let them know by some point tomorrow, it's fine. A couple of other things. The zip line construction that it starts at a tower about 80 feet above the river and goes across the river some, 700 feet, is it, Mike? Yeah. And that should be, it's well underway. The construction's, well along, and we're thinking still late May.
Well, the tower will go up April 14th. It takes about 2 weeks, so
Early to mid-May, it'll be open for the public. So very exciting. That's probably the one item that I get questioned about more than anything else that we're doing on the river. When's that zip line going to be open? So anyway, I wanted to let you know in case you overlooked that. And then I want to acknowledge that Wendell Wisenhunt, longtime Parks Director and personal friend of mine, is retiring after a very noble career in public service here with the city. And I think we'll probably have an opportunity to acknowledge him at least one more time before his final hurrah with the city. But it's an important day for Wendell, and I think an important day for all of us to recognize. And last but not least, this is something that was not in my development report, but I think it's an exciting piece of news. This will be, the day after Thanksgiving, will be the 10th anniversary of the Oklahoma River Holiday Boat Parade, which kind of makes you start think, well, what happened to the last 10 years? It moved so quickly, and so many great things have happened on the river. However, not only is this the 10th anniversary, but we have, as an honored Grand Marshal for this year's parade, former mayor, and actually the mayor during his term, this body was actually formed, Andy Coates. And so a lot of you know and love Andy, and so it'll be a special year, a special celebration, and I've been told that there will be some special receptions in his honor and some neat things coming. So. And we're on the cusp of the 30th anniversary, therefore, of forming the trust. So a very historic time for this group and for particularly and in the riverfront in general. If there are any other questions, be happy to address them. Otherwise, we request that the report be received as submitted.
Any questions of Pat? If not, is there a motion to receive his report? I'm sorry. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Any comments from any of our trustees? Anybody in the audience care to bring anything before the trust?
Well, hello, everyone. I'd like to echo what Pat had said, and we appreciate the cooperation of all parties, Parks and River Trust and Public Works in regard to the agreements. There's just so many good things happening at the river. This is another great step. We're speaking anniversaries. I thought I'd need to mention, too, I reported to State Council this morning that it's actually also the 10-year anniversary of OCU rowing, which is significant because that really kind of kicked forward a lot of our efforts with regard to getting the river active. And we showed a picture of christening a boat in the name of Ray Ackerman on the steps of City Hall that occurred 10 years ago. So we had a reception in that honor of that event last week, and the opening day regatta, we called it, which was the first event on the river for the spring with the Turn the Lights On last week as well. So, and with that, I'd also encourage you, as Brian was sharing the MAPS 3 report, one of the things that is really was really great to see is not just the fact that there's water back in the river, but the course is now complete from MAPS. So the actual buoy lines that have been installed through the Hungarian installation crew that does all the Olympic courses is a beautiful course that's, every buoy, 2,000 meters long, is just perfectly in alignment, and so it looks very, very good. And it's kind of a side benefit, when you turn the lights on, they kind of glow, so it really is a great site and making a lot of good progress there. So thank you all for everything.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're scheduled to go down to the river for our meeting next month. Is that right? Is that right, Pat?
Is that right?
April and September.
Which months, David?
April to September.
Okay.
So that'd be good to see some of the stuff that everybody's talking
Absolutely.
about.
Mike, do you have a good insurance policy on those buoys?
assured me that we've had an extensive overview with the, I mean, it's so, granted, we have some flooding events, and we have a plan for how to handle it if there is a flood, but the way that the course is secured is night and day difference from the way it was before and the infrastructure that's in place. So feel a lot better about that, and certainly it still takes management, and I think we've got a good plan for that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Anything else? If not, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate your help.